Hi, my name is Anastasia Allen. I'm the Executive Director of Navigate STL Schools. Welcome to Navigate STL Schools, a podcast. We're sitting down today with Louis Kruger. Louis, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Louis Kruger, Director of Student Placement for the St. Louis Public Schools.
Awesome. What does that mean?
Well, the district has a number of different ways that students can go to school. We have magnet schools, neighborhood schools, virtual schools, and so forth. I have a couple other roles, but my primary one is to manage the process of parents applying for their children to get into the district's magnet schools program.
Oh, wow. So before we get into all that exciting stuff, what is your personal K-12 education story?
Well, I grew up in St. Louis, been here my whole life, and went to private Catholic schools from 1st through 12th grade in the area.
Awesome. So how did you start your work with the district?
Well, it's been a while. In August of 1988, I started as a clerk working at the old Recruitment and Counseling Center in the district. That office was established to help parents coming into the district as an entry point navigate where their child would go to school, whether it be neighborhood school or if they were interested in magnet schools at that time. Since 1988, and started as a clerk, went through school. I guess you stick around anywhere long enough, you end up running the place. But it's been doing that for quite a while. A few other detours with the district in between, but for the most part, been working for putting kids in magnet schools.
So a lot of times when people think of SLPS, they just think of like the general school down the block. You mentioned a lot of different types of education options that exist in SLPS. One of those being a magnet school. What is a magnet school and why? Why do they exist?
Well, they've been around for quite a while. Magnet schools in the United States started with federal grants, and in the St. Louis Public, they started in 1976. They expanded a little bit in the years leading up to 1983 when we were under a court order, under a desegregation court order in the district, and magnet schools became a large part of that. They expanded in 1983, they expanded again in 89, and even more in 1992. Right now, they comprise about 40% of the district schools. That wasn't as large a percentage back then, but as the district is contracted and schools have closed, most of your magnet schools have remained open. But they have specialized programs within the schools, many different types for all age levels from PK3 through 12th grade.
So what's the difference between a magnet school and a neighborhood school?
Well, they all have the same curriculum, same base curriculum that you need from state of Missouri, one grade to the next and to graduate. Magnet schools have a little extra added depending on the theme of their school. For example, a visual and performing arts school may have an extra dance teacher or arts teacher, depending on the emphasis that the principal wants to put into that program.
Oh,
that's just at the elementary level. At the high school level, it's a bit more expansive with math and science programs, whether it be a Gateway STEM or collegiate School of Medicine and Bioscience. This Soldan International Studies also has, a specialized teaching and curriculum programs within those schools.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. We get a lot of calls from families that want to know how they can apply to a magnet school, how they get into a magnet school, how the selection process is run.
That is another component of the magnet schools I didn't mention, is that students do need to apply and be accepted into the school. All of the high schools now, and have for about 12 years, have criteria for students to gain acceptance. Your gifted programs in the district also have that. They need to qualify as by the district's gifted offices, whether it's through a previous exam given by the district or another school district or one that the child takes. And then all the rest of the schools, most of your elementary and middle, it depends on residency. So that is the eligibility standard. But otherwise, a parent needs to apply. If seats are available at the grade and school that they request, we look to accept them into the school. And usually we do work practically a year ahead on placing students for next year. So right now we're processing applicants for the 23-24 school year that opened October 17th.
That opened October 17th. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a deadline that happens before Thanksgiving, and then there's one that happens January, February.
Correct. The deadline for the district operates in two pools for applicants to apply. Pool A opened October 17th, as mentioned, and it's going to close at 11:59 p.m. this coming Friday, November 18th. So parents, if they haven't yet, want to make sure that they apply. And later on, I'll give you the email, or excuse me, the web address in order to get that application online. But so they need to do that, and then that's for Pool A, and we try to place as many students as we can in Pool A. There's really only a few schools where we run out of available seats and are unable to place students in Pool A, and it's a lot of it's your preschool 3 programs, and as well as some of the high school programs, particularly Metro, sometimes CSMB, although they will take some more students in Pool B. But for Metro, if you're really interested in that school, you want to make sure you get it in by Pool A, the end of the Pool A deadline. Pool B opens right after that. So, if you put it in on midnight on Saturday morning, it's going to go for Pool B. And then we try to fill in the gaps where we can with any available seats in Pool B. And that deadline, I have it written down here. That's January 20th of next year, 2023.
Okay, a follow-up question to that. If you apply for Pool A, do you have to reapply for Pool B?
You don't have to. If your child doesn't get accepted, you can remain on the waiting list and kind of see what happens. And we do a number of acceptances later on in the spring after the schools determine who's actually going to come and who isn't. So we can do it that way. Otherwise, you can apply for Pool B for any schools that open seats are available, and those open seats are posted after the Pool A lottery is run and notifications are sent out.
Okay. So why does the process take place so early? I know a lot of parents don't even start thinking about next school year until maybe March or April.
Right. Well, there are a lot of options available for education in St. Louis, whether it be charter schools, private schools, and so forth. And a lot of them are working on this stuff, that far in advance. We let the school year sort of get rolling after it begins in late August. And then usually the application date opens on October 1st. This year we implemented a new system, so we had to give ourselves an extra couple weeks. But, it just for planning purposes so that we can let parents know who are interested that your child has a seat at this school. We hope you come see us, but we want to let them know as early as we can.
So you mentioned school closures and the shifting size of the district. What are some of the challenges that you think might be currently facing SLPS, and how do you seek support from community members and things like that to help to overcome them?
Well, it's a little bit out of my realm. I'm mostly just acting as a clearinghouse for applicants to make sure that we get kids assigned to schools. There's a lot of challenges that we face in the district. With declining student population, and that's indicative of what's going on in the city of St. Louis at this time. We work the best we can to provide much of a quality education as we can with the numbers that we have. We've recently, I want to say it was 2 years ago, we had to close a number of schools in order to kind of consolidate so that we could offer better services. When you're running a school that only has 100 children, for example, it's very difficult to really give them everything they need with the staffing that's available with a school that small. In high schools, it can be even worse when you drop below a threshold of about 250, 200 kids. It's very difficult to give them all the options that they need for whether it be athletics or foreign language and different electives that they may want. So, the district looks at that periodically, and as we need to, we go before the board and ask them to approve any type of consolidation that we have. Again, as far as reaching out to the community, that's really not where I'm at. I'm hopefully able to help with this particular event, but I don't have a whole lot going on with it.
All right. So St. Louis City is a place where people are really proud of their schools. I don't know, if anybody's actually, where did you go to high school? So what do you think that parents should consider as they're looking at selecting that school for their child?
Well, they need to begin early, as we just talked about. It's hard to find a perfect fit, but you can find really good fits. If perfect fits do exist, but you need to understand that not everything is going to be there for every child and at every instance. But that's what you need to start early. You need to do your research and do it when the child is young, not even necessarily school age. You can begin then, and see where with whether it be reviews that you find online or parent word of mouth or recruitment meetings that the district may hold. You can even contact the school and see about trying to do a tour or talking to people who work in those schools. The earlier you start, the better, so you kind of get an idea of what is available and what might be the best fit for your child. So that's when they're, of not even of school age. And as mentioned again, the earlier you start prior to the next school year, it gives you the best opportunity, most options available for your child.
Speaking of starting early, when should a parent get their child tested if they want to enter into a gifted magnet school?
So the gifted programs begin at preschool age 4 in the district. They will not test a student who is under the age of 3.5 years, 3 years, 6 months. So, you have to kind of look at your child's birth date, see when they're going to be age eligible to enter grade PK4, and then you can contact the gifted office to see when when they have an appointment available for your child. But they won't test a student who's under 3.5 years of age. And obviously any student over that age is appropriate.
So do students have to be tested to go into like the junior high and high school as well, or is it just that elementary entrance point?
Well, there's 4 gifted elementary programs the district operates. There's 1 gifted middle school, and we really don't have gifted high schools. You don't have to qualify for gifted to get into one of the higher academically achieving high schools. They look more at grades, attendance, recommendations, that kind of thing. But so those 4 elementaries kind of feed into each other to the high school, to the middle school. But you do need to qualify to get into any of those programs. You only need to qualify once. It's not like you need to retest year after year after year.
Okay, so my next question is, what advice do you have for parents that are considering a magnet school? So some people might think that, if I want to go to Metro, then I have to go to this school, and this school, or I have to do these programs, or I can manipulate the system by doing X, Y, and Z, or filling out the application early. Like, what advice do you have as parents are considering this process? And are there special things that can be done to help prepare a child for advanced education or going into a magnet school?
Well, again, apply early. That's the key. But, if you're trying to get your student into Metro, do understand that we get about 400 applications every year for about 100 seats. Metro will review all of those and determine eligibility, and all the students who meet that eligibility will go into the pool of applicants in the lottery, and we'll see if you can get your child accepted. So timing is important. Their performance in 7th grade is what is looked at more so than in 8th grade. Student still needs to perform in 8th grade. If they fall off the cliff and their attendance is so bad that they start getting all D's and F's, then Metro may reconsider for 8th grade. But 7th grade is the year in which most of their consideration is given for placement for grades, attendance, discipline, that kind of thing. And it's the same for all the high schools, not just Metro. There's more capacity and availability at the other schools. So while you can potentially wait a little longer to get in them, it's still more beneficial if you apply early to get the process going and see where things end up. But again, it's the 7th grade year for high schools. For other schools, the magnet schools, other than the gifted, it really comes down to your residents. When we were underneath the court order and we were doing the transfer program with the desegregation program, students from the county could come in to the city schools. That program's coming to an end beginning actually this year that you could apply for, 23-24 is the last year those students can apply. So your residency matters. You need to be a city resident. There are very few exceptions. In fact, there's only one I know of, is that if you're a district employee, your child can attend a district school. But otherwise, if you don't reside in the city, you're not a residency eligible to attend St. Louis public schools, including magnet schools.
And we're talking about magnet schools and we're saying gifted programs. So what other types of magnet schools are there in the district?
Well, there's we have math and science programs at elementary through 12th grade, international studies in the same elementary through 12th grade, visual and performing arts. There's Montessori school that's pre-K 3 through 5th grade, early childhood centers that operate pre-K 3 through 2nd grade, and those students feed into other magnet schools for 3rd grade. So there's a wide range that's available. It's some programs have come and gone over the years. We used to have a program that was called Academy of Basic Instruction, and while that still exists down at Lyon School, Lyon at Blow School, that's a K through 8 program. Others have, a little bit more going on with them, like I say, with VPA, Visual and Performing Arts, and the Gifted, and so forth. So there's a fair amount of things to offer.
What's something that has truly surprised you about the work that you do?
I've been doing it for quite a long time, since 1988. One of the things that really surprised me when I was young was how difficult it might be for some families to be able to provide verification documentation, things like that, whether it was their child's birth certificate or even to prove where they reside. So being able to help those families navigate through those kinds of things, if not, really acquiring it for them, at least showing them the way to do it. And honestly, what surprised me with that the most was how the level of satisfaction I got from really trying to help people just do something as considered as simple as putting their kids in school.
Awesome. Well, where do you suggest that parents start if they're considering a magnet program for their children?
Well, in today's age, I would say you should start by looking online at the information websites we have for the schools. It provides, information about each individual school, where they're located, what their program is about, and how the application process works. And you can do that by visiting slpsmagnetschools.org. That's the information site, and there's links on that site that will also take you to the application site. The two are a little bit separate now, but SLPS Magnet Schools, it's one word, .org, will take you to that information page, and that's where you should start.
Oh, I have one final question. It was asked to us by a parent. Sure. How many schools can you apply for at one time on the magnet application?
You can apply for 2 non-gifted schools. You can apply for up to the 4 gifted schools. So let me explain that. We have 4 gifted schools that have grade levels PK4 to 5th in 2 of them, kindergarten through 2nd at the Sticks Gifted Classroom, and then PK4 through 5th at Columbia. So you can apply for any one of those if you wish. Now, the rest of the schools, you're limited to 2 choices. We limit you to 2 choices because in most cases, you're going to be able to get your first choice. So just, keep that under consideration, is that if you apply for a first choice, you're more than likely to get that as long as you do it early enough. High school might be a little different depending on if the school, and it is up to the school to determine your eligibility, not the district offices. If you apply for a second choice, make sure it's what school that you're willing to send your child to, because you may just get what you ask for when it comes to that second choice in the high schools. But yes, up to 2. You don't have to apply for 2, but you can.
Awesome. And my last question for you is, what's something that gives you hope for the future of education in the city of St. Louis?
Well, coming out of the pandemic, made a lot of people realize how important school really is, whether it was families who were had to stay at home with their children because they didn't have any place to send them, or whatever the case may be. My hope is that the understanding of how important school is continues and grows, so that families realize that, and not just families, but people who fund schools, others who participate with them, as to how important it really is for these children to have a safe place to go every day.
Awesome. Well, are there any other things that you want to share with us?
Just make sure you get your application in. That's all I can say.
Make sure you get your application in.
Yeah, you have 2 days for Pool A, but don't fret if you don't get it in by that deadline. You can apply for Pool B. And honestly, we're taking applications pretty much year-round. Understand that families' lives aren't always static, so that they can, whether they move into the city or they move around the city, We'll take applications and process them first come, first serve after that Pool B lottery up until about 2 weeks before the school year begins. We're still working on trying to place students.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll be sharing out the information with Louis Kruger. Thank you guys for listening in. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.